Hi, welcome to Glow's Kinder Kitchen, and I'm Glow. Well, today I thought we would do some stuffed pepper soup together. And what prompted this for me is when I went to the grocery store this morning, on an end cap in the produce area, they have a wire rack area, and they had a couple of bags of peppers that were marked down to $1, and they had 4 peppers in each one. I just took one of the bags, but there was a red, a yellow, an orange, and a green. So I thought, wow, what a deal. So on the way home, I'm thinking, what am I going to do with these peppers now? And I thought about this recipe. I haven't made this in quite a while, but I thought it would be fun to make today. So let's go ahead and get started. The first thing I do, and there's many ways to make this soup. You can make it with just pork, you can make it with ground beef, you can do a combination, you can do it with sausage, and today I am using Italian sausage. So I had 4, long links of the Italian sausage in my freezer, so I took it out, took the casing off, and here it is. So I'm going to go ahead and put this in my pan that I already have started to preheat. And I have this on medium right now. And this is about 1 pound that I have in here. I'm just going to break it up real good. I had broken it up quite a bit before. I'm going to add just a little bit of olive oil to this. And it's not the first pressing, it's the white olive oil. That's probably about 1 tablespoon I put in there at the most. So then, now let's just talk about the next ingredients we have here. Of course, the star of the dish will be the peppers. And so what I did is I cut these up in about this size of a piece. If you cut them up smaller, it's okay, but what happens is they will, when you go to eat your soup, if you've cut them too small, then the star of your soup you're not going to see. So that's why I cut them this size. And I have 28-ounce can of tomatoes here. You can use crushed, you can use whole, whatever you have on hand. Sometimes I use the fire roasted, but I didn't have any in my cupboard, but I do have these, and they're the San Marzano. They're delicious. And I cut up 1 1/2 yellow onions, just in small pieces like that. Some are a little bigger. 3 large cloves of garlic. This garlic bulb I bought, where each one of the cloves was pretty big, so that's why I just did 3. And what else goes in stuffed peppers but rice? So we're going to be adding a cup of just long grain white rice. And I'll be adding a lot of seasonings as we go on here, and also some water along with chicken bouillon and beef bouillon. So let's see how this is doing. I love the smell of the Italian sausage.
Me too, Miss Glow. Smells good.
Yeah.
So does Lucy.
So I'm going to go ahead, while this is cooking here, I'm going to go ahead and put this 1 1/2 chopped up yellow onions into it. And let that start cooking as well. So let's talk about the seasonings I'm going to be using. Once this has browned pretty good, I'm going to be adding the seasonings before I add the other stuff, because I want these seasonings to bloom in the oil. So I've got red pepper flakes, crushed red pepper flakes. I'll be putting in probably between 1/8 and 1/4 of a teaspoon. I've got basil, the basil leaves, and I'll be doing about 1 teaspoon of that. I've got oregano, and I'll be putting in about 1 teaspoon of that as well. I've got rosemary leaves. I'll be doing about a half a teaspoon of that. And then I have onion powder, probably about a teaspoon. I did not include garlic powder in this because this garlic here is pretty strong, so I felt like I didn't need any more. I have parsley, and I'll be putting probably a teaspoon to a tablespoon of that in. I have marjoram, and I have just about a teaspoon left, and I'll be putting that whole thing in there. I have fennel seed, and a lot of Italian sausage has fennel seed in it too. It adds a delicious flavor to the soup. And I've got a little bit of nutmeg here, so I'm going to be putting in a few dashes of that. I'll be putting in a bay leaf. And all of these seasonings just blend really well together for this soup. See how this is coming along. So this is going to have to cook for about another 5 minutes. So I'll be back as soon as it has started to brown and the onions start to soften up, and then we'll go on to the next step. Well, our sausage here and onions is coming along really nice. And I'm going to go ahead and we're going to put in the spices that we had talked about. So what I did is I put them all in this bowl, except for fennel seed, which I have here, and I'll tell you about that. So I'll just go ahead and just put that in. And the fennel seed, let me see, I want to show you what it looks like, just in case you don't know. You see, they're pretty big. So instead of putting the whole seed in there, what I do is I grind it with my mortar and pestle here, and it's down in there. What you do is you just put it in there and do this. Any of your seasonings that you want to have blended, you know, so they're more of like a powder, this little thing is ideal for it. So I'm going to go ahead and put that in, and then when I'm putting the water in, I'll rinse this out because this has a lot of flavor still in it that we don't want to waste. Just move stuff out of our way here. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and stir this up. By putting it in first before we add our tomatoes and stuff, these herbs get down in that little bit of oil that's in there, and they start to bloom and release their flavor. It really helps enhance your dish. And the same goes for the bay leaf. But one thing you want to make sure of with the bay leaf is when you go to serve your soup, you take that bay leaf out. You don't want to eat that, but it does add a lot of flavor to your soups and roast, whatever you're going to do. So at this point, I'm going to go ahead and put the garlic in. One of the reasons I wait till towards the end with this to put garlic in is we don't want that to burn. Because when it burns, it becomes bitter. So I'm just going to let this cook for probably 45 seconds or so, and I'll be right back. We'll go on to the next step. Well, our garlic and our seasonings have been going real nice here for about 45 seconds. So now our next thing we're going to do, we're going to add our long grain rice. Some recipes call for you to put it in after it's cooked. You know, you cook the rice separately, but I find this works really well, and you're only using one pot this way too. And by putting it in now, what I'm doing is the oils and the flavoring that I've already put in here is going to help this rice to toast up a little, and it's going to give it a lot of flavor. Oh, it smells so good, you guys. I wish you were here.
It does smell good.
So I'm going to let this toast for just a couple of minutes, and I'll be back, and then we'll go on to the next step. Well, our rice has been cooking here for about 2 minutes, and you can kind of see in here how it's starting to toast up a little, and the grains have all been absorbing some of that liquid, you know, the seasonings with the, you know, the grease from the sausage and the olive oil and the seasonings. It just smells wonderful, you guys. I'm going to go ahead and sprinkle in some of this red pepper flakes. I did not include that yet. That's probably about 1/8 of a teaspoon. We'll start with that. I'll stir that up. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to add some of this water. I have 6 cups of water here. And I didn't put all of it in yet. What I'm doing is I'm just trying to get the fond on the bottom of this pot released. That has all that really good flavoring in it. And I can feel that it's pretty much already released because my spoon here is not grabbing on the bottom. Well, that's so good. So I'm going to go ahead and add these tomatoes. And that was 1 28-ounce can. And I'm not wasting that. I'm going to take my water here and swish that around. There we go. And since these are whole tomatoes, I'm going to just crush them up a little with my spoon. And as they're cooking, they're going to start to break down too. But this will just give them a head start. And when you use whatever pot you pick a pot that has a lid that's going to fit on it, or something you can put over it like a lid, because you're cooking rice and you want that rice to cook. And it should cook with a lid on it. Okay, so now I'm going to add the peppers, the star of the show, and we're going to add, I'm going to just put a little water in this to get the rest of that fennel seed that's in this out. So that's all really good flavor. And then I'm going to add about 2 teaspoons of this chicken broth. I use better than bouillon, but you use what you like. So remember, it's your kitchen and you do it the way you want. That's what makes it fun. We all cook a little different. We share ideas and help each other out. That's how I learned how to cook. Sharing ideas and stuff. I learned the basics at home and some of the old family recipes, but I got introduced to a lot of different cooking just from friends and family. And also cooking shows.
What's that, Miss Cloves?
This is, I'm sorry, beef bouillon. Better.
Beef bouillon?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. How much is that?
Well, this is less than a teaspoon here. This is actually a grapefruit spoon. And so I would say probably a teaspoon and a half of each one of those.
Okay.
We may need more. We might need a little salt, but we're going to start off with that because we don't want a salty soup. Because we're going to be adding cheese to this at the end. Isn't that pretty?
Yes, so pretty, so pretty.
And it smells so good.
It does smell good.
So I'm going to just turn the temperature up to about medium. We're going to maybe even a little higher, because what I want to do is to bring this up to a low boil, and then I'm going to be putting the cover on my lid and let this simmer till this rice and everything is cooked. And I'm going to add just a little bit of like a teriyaki sauce. It adds a little bit of sweetness. That's probably a teaspoon. We'll start with that. A couple of shakes of the nutmeg. And also just a little bit of dry red wine. That goes really good with any kind of tomato-based stuff. That's probably a couple tablespoons at the most of the dry red wine. And we got the onion powder, which we haven't put in yet, and we'll put that in now.
How much was that, Miss Clove?
Maybe a teaspoon at the most.
Okay.
Actually, probably less than that. Because when this is done, we'll be sampling it, and if we need more salt or more seasonings, we'll put it on, you know, put it in it at that time. It smells so good already. And then I'm just going to put a couple of squeezes of tomato paste. And I have found buying tomato paste like this in a tube is so handy, because when you open up a can of the tomato paste, quite often you don't need the whole thing. Like in this soup, I wouldn't need a 6-ounce can. But I'm just going to go ahead and squirt that in. 1, 2, probably 2 tablespoons there. That was a great invention, whoever came up with it, or idea. You can buy fresh ginger like that too, in a tube. And garlic, I've seen garlic. So let's go ahead and put the rest of this water in. I'm going to bring it to a boil. I will be back just as soon as it starts to boil. You can already see where it's going to be boiling here really quick. So we'll be back in about a minute.
I can hear it going.
Well, as you can tell here, our soup is starting to break the surface. And it's going to be coming to a pretty good boil. I'll turn it down to low and cover it and let this cook for about a half an hour. And then we'll be back, and we're going to, I'm just going to stir it here before I turn it down. Isn't that beautiful?
Looks good, Miss Clove.
Yep.
It's a bubbler.
So, see how that the broth is breaking to the surface there?
Yes.
Yeah, oh, that's going to be delicious.
Scrumptious.
All right, so I'm going to go ahead and put the lid on it, turn it down to low, and we'll be back in about a half an hour. Well, our soup has been cooking now for a half an hour, so let's take a look at it and see how it's doing. Oh, it smells so good. Oh yeah, see how that rice cooked up so nice?
Looks good.
Smells delicious.
It is a nice smell.
I'm going to sample this just to see how the flavors are coming. We're going to let this cook though for another hour. You could eat it now, but I believe that when you let the flavorings go through it a little bit more, it's better. See how hot it is. Oh, you can eat it right now. I still have to put the bread in the oven though, so let's taste this pepper. It's got a little bit of a bite to it still, you know, like a crunch, but it's softening up really nice. And let's see the rice and stuff. Guys, it's delicious.
Don't forget, you guys still have to put the cheese on it.
Oh yeah, so that's what's here. We're going to be putting this on in an hour. This is freshly grated Parmesan cheese, and I'll be stirring that into here. Then when you serve it with whatever cheese you want to serve it with. Tonight we're doing it with Monterey Jack. But you can do it with mozzarella, you can do it with cheddar, whatever you have on hand. But we're going to go ahead and let this cook for another hour, and I'll be back and we'll serve it, and you guys can see what it looks like. Well, I believe our soup is ready. It's been going here for an hour. Oh yeah, look at that, you guys.
Looks good.
Oh, look how delicious that looks. Mm-mm-mm. So we can go ahead and put the cheese in with it. Stir that up.
About how much cheese was in this?
It's about a half a cup.
Half a cup, okay.
And not packed, it's just freshly grated.
All right.
So we really didn't add any just salt. We had the chicken bouillon, we had the beef bouillon, but we didn't put any, you know, like regular salt in here at all. You know, the cheese will help it too, but also the herbs that you cook with. You can get by without adding a lot of additional salt to a dish by doing that. But isn't that delicious? It looks so good. So I'm going to go ahead and put some in this bowl and sample it. And if you want this soup thinner, by all means, you can add additional water to this or broth, whatever you want. This is a great soup to make like ahead of time for when you're going to have guests coming in, especially like Thanksgiving and Christmas. You can make this up ahead, have it in the refrigerator, serve it with a loaf of bread, and people will love it. So I'm going to go ahead and just put a little bit of this cheese on top. And try this. It looks really hot.
Yeah, it's steaming pretty good.
Yeah, it is. Oh my goodness. This is so good. This would be a delicious soup to serve for people, and they would be like, I've never had this before. You don't see this very often, and it is so good. If it, you know, it has all those wonderful herbs in it, and I personally like it the best with the Italian sausage. But I've done it with chicken, I've done it with beef, and just plain pork. But the Italian sausage really does add a lot of flavor to it. Mmm. Wow. I hope you guys have enjoyed this, and if you have, please like and subscribe to our channel if you haven't yet, and give me a thumbs up and a comment, and I hope you guys have a wonderful day. We'll talk to you later. Bye.